The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 174 with Kirk Adams from Golf and Body NYC.
A lot of times the body is smarter than we are, and some of the things that you're doing in your swing are sort of the body's way of being protective of itself, and you don't even really realize it.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast. This week, we've got a great guest. We have Kirk Adams from Golf and Body NYC. Kirk's the fitness director up there at Golf and Body, which you're going to hear more about. It's basically like an indoor country club in Manhattan, which sounds just incredible. Place that we definitely all should go check out. But Kirk is, as I mentioned, the fitness director and has been in the strength and conditioning game for nearly 20 years. And so this week, what we're talking about on the show is kind of winterizing your body for a better game in 2018. Most of us are stuck in cold weather these days, and it's time to kind of hibernate, go inside. And, most of the time we kind of slip and let things fall off the wagon a little when it comes to our golf game and making sure that our body's still doing what it needs to do when it hits the tee box. And so today we're talking just a lot about what you should be focusing on, ways that you can kind of figure out how to put together a program for yourself, and how Kirk goes about, looking at an off-season program, what components he would definitely keep in there or put in there to work on strength, power, endurance. And we really kind of separate and break down each of those components when it comes to your own game and maybe what you should incorporate in the gym, at home, or just on a daily basis. So we really kind of dig deep on, the topics of strength, power, endurance. We even dig into kettlebells and how to use them properly, why he likes them, why he uses them so much. And, just for my own personal reference, what are good ways to then program in, depending on what your goals are. So this is a great conversation. I really appreciated Kirk taking the time, and we really dug pretty deep, but kept it, to where it was very easy to understand, very simple, and broken down really, really well. So there's definitely some takeaways that you're going to get out of this. Might even want to get a pen and paper or listen to it a second time to get some more of the details. Before we do jump into the interview, I want to say a quick thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, Scratch. The guys over at Scratch have continued to create some great content. I was just on their Facebook page, which is the best place to go find some of their newest videos. I was just watching a couple videos before jumping on the mic here. The first was the sound bites of 2018, which were pretty funny, as well as the shanks of 2018, which I know is a dirty word to say here. But these guys continue to create great content, as well as the series that they have, Adventures in Golf, and the 72 and 72. So definitely check out Scratch over on Facebook. You can also just go to scratchtv.com, which will take you to their homepage where you can find all of their social media channels. All right, let's get into our episode of Winterizing Your Body for a better golf game next season. Kirk Adams, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, what's going on, Jeff?
Not too much, man. I'm excited to talk a little bit of winter programming for the golfer. And, you're up in NYC. I'm in St. Louis. It's been, except for today, it's been brutally cold around here. I'm assuming you guys have been probably even colder and maybe have gotten some snow recently. It's time for golfers to kind of go indoors. And so we're going to chat a little bit about what they can be doing and what they should be doing and how they can kind of prep themselves for next year. But I want to go into just a little bit of your background. You're an incredible facility up there at Golf and Body NYC. But give us a little, backtrack before that. I know you are a strength coach at Penn State. You had your own golf fitness company. So give us a little bit of a catch up from back then to where you are now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the fitness industry now, amazingly, almost 20 years. I grew up in Pennsylvania, went to Penn State. I was a lifelong Penn State fan growing up, got to go there for school, which was awesome. And then I had a really amazing opportunity when I graduated to basically stick around and start working in strength and conditioning. And, I didn't realize at the time how fortunate I was to be able to start my career at a Big Ten school, and especially one that I, not only went to, but rooted for. And it was an amazing opportunity. I spent several years there, almost 15 years at Penn State. In my time there, I had a little bit of experience with almost each sport on campus, which was great. I spent about 8 months with football as an undergrad. But then I kind of settled in with, some more of the Olympic sports. And, at that time, the department was a little bit split. Football and the Olympic sports were a little bit split as far as the organization there. And I kind of settled in mostly with volleyball, soccer, and then golf. And that was basically out of just sort of the facility that I was assigned in. But it worked great. I mean, it was interesting because I played golf and soccer growing up. So it was great to work with those two sports. Volleyball, I had really no experience in, especially that kind of volleyball. I was used to the picnic volleyball, not this high flying indoor volleyball that our teams were playing. So I learned a ton about that sport, which was really cool. And then, got to work with the men's and women's golf teams, which, for me was really interesting as a golfer, to work with them. And then, that was where I first sort of got involved with TPI. And, when I first started, a lot of the sports were treated much more similarly. There wasn't as much, sort of sport specific training going on and delineation between the two sports. And in my time there, things really kind of evolved, and, TPI started and got involved with that, and, really sort of saw things change, but it was a cool opportunity to work with those two teams there.
Very cool. And then, so from Penn State, it sounds like you kind of took the golf fitness thing and ran with it a little bit. And obviously, you're at Golf and Body NYC, but where'd you go in between there?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of time. Basically, my job got kind of caught up in some of the transition between Joe Paterno and Bill O'Brien's staff. And it's something that happens a lot in college athletics. It was a tough transition. It was not something I was planning on or hoping for, but it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I think professionally, I needed a little bit of a push to do something different. As much of a blessing as it was to start at a school like Penn State, it was restricted because I didn't have to work to get to a place like that. I was fortunate to start there, but I think it was a pretty good push to get out and do something different. So initially, I was kind of doing some golf fitness stuff on my own. I started a company called Nittany Golf Fitness in State College, and I was basically trying to start a golf fitness business there in State College, and I was using kind of the TPI model where would do the assessment for people, and then kind of using what at the time they had was kind of an online programming platform where I could I provided a couple different levels of service. Some was just online, some was in person where I would do some actual training. But then, it was going okay. I wasn't a business person at that point, and I'm still not a great business person. I came from a college strength coach world. I didn't have any business background. So that was not my forte, and things were going okay. But, I found out about this opportunity at Golf and Body, and, it was kind of a great, it was a great opportunity to come here, work in New York City, which I tell everybody is maybe the last place on earth I ever thought I would live. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by farms, and I used to think State College was a big town. So to come here to New York City was kind of a culture shock. But Ben Shear was here at the time, and knowing the fact that he was working with some guys on tour, and he was kind of our director of fitness and kind of set things up here. It was pretty clear that this was a neat opportunity to get in with at the time a very new company and learn from him, and then just come to the city. And like I said, the Penn State thing kind of forced me into something different. And while I never probably would have made that move on my own, it was sort of a blessing in disguise. And the company now, we basically just celebrated our 5-year anniversary here, and things are going well for the company. And I've been here now about 4.5 years. Kind of moved into a new role as director of fitness over the summer. And, it's been exciting because we've sort of reached kind of a membership cap here in New York, or some kind of a soft cap, as far as how many people we think we can deal with here. So it's been pretty exciting. We just hired a new trainer. We're trying to get some new offerings, fitness related for our members, and get a nutrition program going. And so it's been a lot of stuff going on, but it's all been good stuff, and it's been really exciting. I think I'm finally sort of comfortable living in New York City. Kind of know my way around at least a little bit. So that's been fun. And, it's, if nothing else, it's been an experience and, that I'll couldn't have gotten anywhere else. So.
Can you describe the facility a little bit? Cause I've seen pictures online. I've never been there, but it looks like an amazing place. So give the audience a little bit of a, viewpoint of what you guys have going on there.
Yeah, so Golf and Body, it's a pretty unique space. I'm here in New York. We've got about 25,000 square feet. We're the entire third floor of a building here in Manhattan, and we're kind of located in the shadow of the Empire State Building, Herald Square, Macy's. For those of you that know the city, that's where we're located. And it's interesting because from the street you would never know that there's a golf country club right above you. But we've got about 200 members. Like I said, that's sort of our max number that we think we can handle here the way we'd like to. And what we offer is it's basically set up like an indoor golf country club. So our members, just like a golf club would, they pay an initiation fee, they pay yearly dues, and then we offer a number of services. Obviously, golf lessons, personal training. But then we have a lot of wellness services like nutrition counseling, PT, chiropractic, massage. We're starting to offer some yoga and Pilates classes. So a lot of things that we don't often have here, maybe full time. But we have professionals that come in and offer those services if it's something we think it's going to help get the members to their goals, or it's something they kind of request. And basically what we try to do is we try to surround each of our members with a team of professionals, and, coming from the three big areas of golf, fitness, and wellness. And that kind of starts with our assessment process. We do a fitness assessment for everybody, a golf assessment, medical assessment, if that's something that we, either find that they need or they come in, with that need. And then each member has that team around them. We try to get as much background information on their health history, and then try to find out, what brought them to Golf and Body, what their goals are, what made them finally come in and make the commitment to coming here. And then just take all that information we have and try to come up with the best plan we can to get them to their goals, whether it be through exercise, instruction, club fitting, wellness services, whatever that may be.
Sounds pretty amazing. And do guys and girls, do they come in and actually play golf too? I know you have some simulators and things like that. Do they actually come in and just play 18 holes?
Yeah. The great thing is, you can come in and play an entire round of golf. We have some of the best courses in the world on our simulators. I don't know how many it is. It's got to be close to 100 courses. And yeah, you can come in. I mean, the cool thing is you can play an entire 18 holes of golf in probably about 45 minutes to an hour. You don't got to chase any bad shots. So it's great. And, it's never rainy or cold here at Golf and Body. So no matter how bad the winter weather is, it's always 70 and sunny here inside. But, our big selling point is kind of the technology. We have TrackMan, we've got some Foresight and some, different 3D technology, K-Vest, things like that. And so since we don't have that green grass course, our big selling point is kind of the technology and the information that we can give to our members. But yeah, you can set up the bays to play around, sort of do target practice at some par threes, or just set it up like a range and just, pound balls and get some information off TrackMan and see what you need to do to get better.
Sounds like a golfer's dream.
It is. It's pretty cool. I tell people, for a guy that likes to work out and play golf, it's not a bad place to come to work every day.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's talk about the idea of, being kind of an indoor facility and there's cold weather outside. It's raining here in St. Louis today, and so many people don't have the facility that you have to get to, but they still want to make sure that their game is staying strong or getting stronger over the wintertime, which can sound kind of strange to many people, your golf game getting better over the winter. But
sure,
there's obviously things that we know we can do in the off season. What are some of the things that you, first of all, find that golfers tend to neglect once they put the clubs away at the end of the season?
Well, I think, they tend to neglect, there's the fitness side for one. I think there's a couple things you can look at that can be helpful this time of year. Obviously, one is fitness. You can obviously look at your nutrition. What are you doing there? There's some, what I think people ought to look at is sort of look back at the previous season and make hopefully get an honest assessment of what some of their roadblocks were, what was kind of holding them back. And I think from obviously there's things on the instruction side that you can address. There's things on the equipment side that you can probably address. I'm obviously dealing with more of the fitness and that realm and the wellness in that realm. And I think the first thing is you want to take a look at, are you in any pain? Is there anything that's keeping you from enjoying the game, keeping you from being successful because you have some aches and pains that, maybe you were playing through during the year and just kind of grinned and bared it a little bit. But maybe this is the time of year you can get out of some of that pain, some of that discomfort. A lot of times the body is smarter than we are. And some of the things that you're doing in your swing are sort of the body's way of being protective of itself, and you don't even really realize it. So getting an honest assessment of where some of your limitations and pain are there. And if you can eliminate some of that, sometimes that can make some big headway in what you're doing swing wise. Like I said, I think you can look at your nutrition. I think a lot of our members and golfers in general could take more advantage of some of the soft tissue and massage options that are out there. That can do a lot for relieving pain, improving mobility, improving recovery in between workouts and rounds and things like that. And then obviously there's the fitness piece. And, I like to look at it sort of from 4 areas, and that is, kind of strength, power, mobility, and endurance. And again, making kind of an honest assessment on which of those areas are potentially holding you back the most. And then coming up with a plan to address those, and then taking advantage of the fact that you fortunately or unfortunately, you don't have the same amount of time to be out on the course. So to put that time that you would be playing and practicing into your body, figuring out where your biggest areas of needs are, and then coming up with a plan to address those so that when you do want to get the clubs back out and hit the course, that's no longer a liability for you. Just like you might do in your game, whether it be, if it's short game or hitting it off the tee or something like that, if that's the biggest area that's holding back your score, and kind of addressing that. Same thing here from a strength, power, mobility, endurance standpoint, figuring out which one of those maybe is holding you back the most and then addressing that.
Yeah, I think that so many of us, we kind of, we put the clubs away. We kind of think, okay, it's off season. I'm not going to touch a club. I'm not going to play any golf. I'll kind of get back into golf shape when it starts to warm up. And usually that's, in my opinion, obviously way too late to wait. And you could be using this time to really recover and heal. And I think that's an important piece of, utilizing some of the soft tissue stuff, or a medical practitioner, or just getting the body moving. So let's talk kind of specifically for the person that's listening that wants to get in the gym. We're at the start of January. Everybody's getting back in the gym, getting their New Year's resolutions in, and they're ready to kind of start moving in the right direction. When somebody comes in to see you, obviously they go through an assessment and evaluation, and then where do you kind of go from there? What are some of the big rocks that you put into place for them when you're starting to put together a program for their off season?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we always, kind of start with is how the member is moving, making sure that they're able to move well. I think first to be healthy. So we use, there's a lot of different assessment tools out there, and we go back and forth all the time with, which is going to be best for our members and which is going to give us the best information. But, we kind of use a combination of the functional movement screen and some of the TPI screening. And all we're really trying to get is some information on how that person is moving to make sure that they can withstand, the things that they're doing in the game of golf. I mean, some people still don't think of golf as a very physically active sport, but, swinging a club 100 plus miles an hour, hopefully only 60 to 70 times around, it's still pretty tough on the body. And it's a 4 to 5 hour round out there. So, we want to make sure that they're moving well enough to withstand what they're doing. And then also in the gym, there's some exercises that, if there's things that you're struggling with in a movement standpoint, with just your body weight or in a very basic position, to then go in the gym and do some traditional exercises, while for some people they're great, maybe for you, they're not the best choice yet. And there's a foundational level that, you need to kind of address first. So I think that's always the first thing. And then, on top of that, I think you want to, this is a great time of year to work on strength. During the season, workout frequency obviously is probably going to go down. And even when you are exercising, maybe you're a little concerned about that round you have the next day or the tournaments you have coming up that weekend, and you don't really want to train too hard because, you don't want to have any lingering effects from that workout carrying over into that round. This time of year, you may not have to have those same concerns, and you can maybe push a little harder and get those strength levels up because, we all know if you can hit the ball a little farther, it starts to make this game a whole lot easier, as we just saw over the weekend with Dustin Johnson. It starts to make this game a whole lot easier. So maybe if that's something that's holding you back, or maybe you'd like to start playing back another set of tees, something like that, if you can start increasing that level of strength. And then, once you get to the point where you've got a base, a sufficient level of strength, and it's always an interesting conversation, how strong does a golfer need to be successful enough? Then you want to start taking that strength and learning how to convert it with some speed into power. So that's obviously what's going to translate into greater club head speeds and hopefully hitting the ball farther off the tee. And then there's an endurance component. Like I said, the round of golf is 4 to 5 hours. If you're walking, some of these courses are pretty tough to walk. And I think a lot of guys could save, a lot of shots towards the end of rounds if their body had a little more endurance to, feel a lot closer on the, last 4 or 5 holes as it did on the first 4 or 5 holes. Sometimes we can leak out quite a few shots there towards the end. And then kind of going back to the beginning too, talking about warm up a little bit. I think a lot of golfers lose a lot of shots because they step on the first tee and they're not quite ready to go yet. And they spend the first 2 or 3 holes kind of warming up. So there's a lot of shots that you can lose on those last couple holes if some of these fitness things aren't addressed quite as well as they could be.
Let's take a second here to thank our sponsor for this week's episode, Super Speed Golf. The Super Speed Golf system is, as you know, if you've been listening to the show, one of our favorite tools in our toolbox for increasing club head speed, distance, yardage off the tee. And I've yet to meet a golfer that doesn't want to hit the ball farther. So this system, it's basically 3 different weights of clubs that you use and you swing to a specific protocol that's going to help you improve your balance, improve your tempo, but ultimately allow your body to swing faster. In our training sessions, we talk a lot about creating more power, creating more speed. And there's different ways you can do it. You can do it with medicine balls. You can do it with plyometric drills. You can do it with all these different styles of exercise. But one of the fastest and most effective ways that I've seen it translate into the golf swing is simply by using the overspeed system because it's directly related to your golf swing. You teach your body how to move faster. You teach your brain how to move faster. And ultimately, it increases your potential to swing faster off of the tee box. So it's not about swinging harder when you get up on the tee box. It's about your body having a higher capacity to swing super fast. So even if you dial it back a little bit, you're much more comfortable swinging at higher speeds. So if you haven't checked out the Super Speed Golf system, go to superspeedgolf.com and be sure to use the code 18STRONG to get your discount. All right, back to Kirk. If you could, I'd like to kind of break out, you mentioned, the idea of mobility, strength, power, endurance, and we've talked a lot about some different mobility things on the show. And obviously we've mentioned the differences of strength and power and endurance, but what are some really basic ways that you can help, the listeners kind of identify what are some of the bigger factors of creating some strength versus creating some power versus creating endurance? What are some simple things that they can think about when they're maybe creating their own program? What are kind of the big ideas behind, okay, for this phase or whatever, I want to create a little bit more strength in my body. And then I want to transition into a little bit more of the power work, or I want to transition into endurance work. What differentiates those?
Okay. Yeah, I think, that's one of the things I try to do for our members here and for, people I talk to. And I think that's one of the biggest things that keeps people from exercising more is they walk in the gym and they see all this equipment, they see kettlebells, they see these machines and barbells and things like that. And they don't know where to start. And that's pretty discouraging for people. They just don't know how to put together a simple workout. And I try to break it down very simply. Obviously, I think you want to address some upper body strength and some lower body strength. You can break down upper body, I think, basically into pulling movements and pushing movements. Okay, so your pulling movements would be, your row variations, your chin-up variations, and there's 1,000 ways you can go there. Same thing with your pressing movements, your push-ups, your bench presses, your your overhead presses, things like that. And I think if you within every workout, if you have a pretty even balance of pushing and pulling exercises, and then I think you can break that down a little bit further into horizontal and vertical. Okay. So, strength is specific to the direction in which we're training it. So if you're, pushing and pulling horizontally, which would be things like push-ups, bench presses, and then your row variations, and doing some stuff vertically, which is more your overhead pressing and overhead pulling, like chin-ups, that's going to take care of a lot of your issues on an upper body side. And again, we could talk for a couple of days on upper body training, but I think if you check those big boxes, you're going to be pretty good. From a lower body standpoint, I would look at it, when I'm thinking about programming, I'm looking at, squatting and then hinging or deadlifting. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean a bar on my back or picking up a bar off the floor. There's a lot of different squatting variations. There's a lot of different hinging, deadlifting variations. And that's where our screening comes in to find the one that's safe, that has the implement or the modality that fits your body, that fits your training age where you're at. So I would want to make sure that those two are covered. Again, if not every workout, at least within probably that full week. And then I think it's good to break down the lower body stuff into some single leg training as well. some single leg squatting, lunging, step ups, things like that. Some single leg deadlifting, hip bridging. So we got to operate on two different legs. It's good to train them a little bit separately. So if you're addressing those big things from an upper and lower body standpoint, and then from core strength, I think one of the big misconceptions a lot of people still have is that, the core is going to produce a lot of our rotation, a lot of our speed, a lot of our movement. It actually functions a little bit better in transferring forces kind of between our upper and lower bodies. So a lot of, what we call anti-rotation, anti-flexion, anti-side bend kind of exercises. Plank would be a great example where you're working to isometrically to stay in one position and sort of resist your spine wanting to go into extension. That's the type of core training that's going to really benefit us from a golf perspective. It's going to keep us healthy, and it's going to help us transfer that power, from the ground up through our body, and then hopefully eventually into the club head and into the ball. So I think from a strength perspective, if you deal with those things, and again, there are week-long seminars on strength training, but I think for most people, if you check those boxes in a pretty even percentage, and you do that 2 or 3 times a week, for most people, strength would no longer be a limitation in their game.
I love that. I think that was so succinctly put, and really just, like you said, it checks all the boxes. And I'm a big believer in, really kind of simplifying these different things. And there's a million different variations that you can do in what you just said, but having those big things to look at. And then when you're looking at power development and creating some power, so you've got somebody that has kind of gone through a bit of a strength phase, or they've been working on some strength. What are some of the key things that you do for increasing the power?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the most often neglected things in a lot of people's training, especially as we get older, is just trying to do something fast. I always say I think one of the things that golfers forget about or sometimes don't think about is, for the most part, a lot of us, we work all week. A lot of times people are sitting at work, they're sitting in their cars, they're not super active. And then they step on the first tee on Saturday morning, maybe haven't done much of a warm up, and they expect to swing their driver 100 miles an hour or more. And that unfortunately doesn't happen the best. And that sometimes is a recipe for not only not a lot of success, but potentially some injury. So I think it's important in almost every workout to do something where you're trying to move fast. And again, there's all levels of that. I mean, for some of our members, that is, just skipping or hopping over a line on the floor, hopping back and forth over a line on the floor. For others, it's, barbell power cleans. So there's any number of different things, but doing something where the intent is, strength is more about how much can you move. Power training is about how fast you can move or the intent to move something quickly. So, there's a lot of different modalities. There's Olympic lifting. There's a lot of stuff you can do with kettlebells and dumbbells. What I find works best for our members, and I think for most people, especially if you don't have a lot of background in those other areas, is, some type of jumping. And we try to get our members jumping. There's basically 3 different ways you can move. You can move forwards, backwards, you can move side to side, and you can move in rotation. And, so we try to get our members, jumping forwards, something like maybe it's a broad jump or maybe it's a box jump. We like to get them jumping side to side, either on 2 feet or on 1 foot, and then doing some jumping in rotation as well. So that's, I would look at that as more of a lower body power component. And then the other one that works great for a lot of people is just some med ball throws. Find a wall, find a floor, and throw a med ball as hard as you can at it. And again, we'll try to do that in different planes, but a lot of it's going to be laterally, trying to control forces laterally, and then obviously in rotation. So for most people, if you do a little bit of jumping and a little bit of med ball throwing, that's gonna attack that power thing. And then another tool that we've used here quite a bit, or I've used quite a bit, is the Super Speed Golf product. I've really enjoyed using that a lot with our members this off season, because it's a well-designed system of sort of overspeed, underspeed training, and they sort of put a great product together where it takes the guesswork out of how heavy or how light it should be, and I think just the practice of swinging a golf club as hard as you can. And then when you kind of ramp that down, when you're on the first tee and you actually have to worry about where the ball goes, you've created a bigger engine with more horsepower. Now, even if you're not using all that horsepower when you're trying to hit the ball, you've got more there to kind of call upon. So that practice of swinging faster is something, again, I don't think a lot of people do, because even when we're swinging with a driver, we may be swinging 80, 90% of what we really can.
Yeah, and anybody listening to the show that's listened for a while knows that I love the super speed clubs, and obviously they're a sponsor of the show. But I think that has made it kind of easy for people to get in something fast, because you're right. So many times we do the strength training, and I am a big fan of the slow, controlled movements when you're doing the strength training piece. But then you have to be able to train something fast, and ideally, the more specific you are in whatever you're trying to accomplish, the more specific you can get with your training, then the better it's going to relay over to that sport or activity. And obviously, swinging something like the super speed golf clubs is directly correlated with the golf swing. What about from an endurance factor then? So we've kind of covered the strength, we've kind of covered a little bit of the power, and obviously some of this carries over into the endurance piece for sure. Are there any other little tips that you would mention for somebody looking to build up their endurance towards the end of the round?
Yeah, well, I think, the sort of the high intensity interval training has been very popular lately. And I think there's definitely a place for that at times. What I think, though, a lot of our members and a lot of what the typical golfer could benefit from is more of the longer distance cardiac output, aerobic work, whatever you want to call it, because I think it's going to help in recovery. It's going to help, bring resting heart rate down. It's going to help, recovery, I think, between shots. Okay. If you've got to walk up a hill and then, get to a shot and then your heart's racing and you're trying to have fine control over the golf club. I think the quicker you can get that heart rate back down, the quicker you can recover, the better. I think it's going to be great for just general stress management for some of our folks, especially here in New York, that live a very stressful life. And it's just going to help with general health and well-being. So, I try to get our members, once or twice a week to do something, where it's maybe, 30 to 60 minutes and looking at, trying to keep their heart rate somewhere in the, like 120 to 140 or 130 to 150 range. I tell people it doesn't have to be, if you get bored doing something that long for the same amount of time, I kind of do too. And I'll do a couple different things where, I'll maybe break it up over a couple different pieces of equipment. Might spend 10 or 15 minutes on 2 to 3 different things. Or you can do different things like, you can do some weighted carries, you can do some sled pushes, you can do some crawling, or some combination of those, some Turkish get-ups. It doesn't have to be, slogging away on the bike or the treadmill if that's not your thing. But as long as you kind of fill that piece of the time requirement, that 30 to 60 minute time requirement, and that heart rate is in that range, you're going to get that endurance component that, hopefully is going to, again, help you recover between shots, help you feel a little more mentally and physically in tune at the end of your round. And then if you're in a tournament and you got 36 holes, or you've got another round the next day, or you're on a buddy's trip and you're trying to play, 5 rounds in 3 days or something like that. Hopefully that endurance will allow you to do that, do what you're trying to do at a higher level more often.
Gotcha. One other quick question I had for you, just kind of from a programming standpoint, is I know that you're a big kettlebell fan. You use a lot in your programming, and I know that you were going through a certification course, or maybe have been through a certification course. I can't remember who it was with. So when you're using kettlebells, obviously you can use them for some strength, some power, some endurance. How do you determine when you're going to use maybe a swing or a get up? And at what point of maybe the workout session do you put it in there? Is there a time like where you make sure you put a certain style or a certain lift at the beginning of a session or towards the end for more endurance? Or how do you kind of go about programming some of that?
Well, I'll tell you a few of the reasons I like kettlebells. One, it's a great implement that you can use in a lot of different exercises. You can load it different ways. Holding it at your side, holding it in your chest. You can do some single-sided training with kettlebells. It fits a lot of people. Whereas the barbell or certain machines, there's a set size and you kind of either fit it or you don't. Kettlebells are pretty flexible and they fit a lot of different people and allow for some variations in your movement path that maybe a barbell doesn't. They fit better with certain exercises. I think some overhead pressing. I find that it just the way the kettlebell, the way it sits on your arm and you hold it works a little bit better with some overhead pressing. And I think they're great. I think they're great for golfers because they, if you got any kind of home gym, or maybe you're on the road. Like I work with some guys that are still, out there on the mini tours and trying to make a career at this game. And, sometimes they're carrying equipment with them, or they're training in hotels, or we got members that are, traveling and training in hotels. They travel very easily. It's kind of hard to throw a barbell in your carry-on, but maybe you can get away with a kettlebell or something like that. So they work great for that. And then relative to programming, I think, if you're, there's different ways you can use some of these exercises, like, get-ups. I typically, like a Turkish get-up, I'll typically, teach that in different phases, kind of break it down. I'm generally not teaching someone a full Turkish get-up from the floor to standing and back to the floor right away. I'm kind of breaking that up. So a lot of these exercises we kind of teach, and I think it's good to learn in pieces. So sometimes people see the finished product and, it's like the golf swing where sometimes you're just working on your takeaway, or sometimes you're just working at your position at the top of the swing. Same thing with some of these exercises. There's, I tell our members all the time where, this is a practice, and you practice these exercises just like you practice the golf swing, and don't necessarily expect to master them right away. I still work on technique all the time, and I've had a little bit of time with them, not a ton, but, something that's really technically involved and someone that if they really have to think about what they're doing, I generally want to keep that towards the beginning of the workout when the nervous system and their mind is still relatively fresh. But the neat thing is, you can use a lot of these exercises in a lot of different ways. So, like a kettlebell swing, you can go pretty heavy, do some low reps, or even do like kind of single swings one at a time and get a little more of a, strength and power component. Or if I got somebody who their technique is pretty dialed in, I might throw them in closer to the end and maybe do them for time or for some higher reps, and I can work on more of a conditioning component with them. Same thing with get-ups, like, get-ups, again, pretty technical. Again, for most people would do them towards the beginning of the workout, but if I got somebody whose technique is dialed in, I've done workouts where, for 10 minutes, I'm just going back and forth between my right side and my left side doing get-ups. And that's a great, you get definitely some endurance on that without having to, kind of trudge away on the treadmill. So, I would always suggest with people there is more skill involved in doing these exercises well than, maybe some, especially, selectorized machine or cable based equipment. There's more technique involved. So I would, if you're not super comfortable, I would definitely, try to go to a trainer, someone who's certified or has some experience and get some get some instruction. It's kind of like golf. I mean, you can go out and you can play golf kind of on your own. But you might benefit from it a little bit more if you have a little bit of coaching and instruction. And then for any trainers out there, I would definitely recommend taking, some courses on kettlebell instruction and technique. And, I went through the RKC. They have a couple different levels. They basically have 3 levels of kettlebell certification. And I've taken some of those, and I've been fortunate enough to help teach a couple of those classes. And every time I teach, I get better at the technique myself. So it's good practice for me too. So, I hope that I think I answered most of those questions. Yeah. There's a lot involved with kettlebells. Or like I said, there's definitely more skill involved, and they're great to implement. But I would suggest, not just, if you're not super comfortable kind of picking one up, and especially doing something like kettlebell swings, there is a base of instruction and practice that went in there before you see someone doing, something maybe high level like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a totally different feel. It really breaks up, the traditional stuff and gives you just different movements, different weights, different balance. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of carryover with golf, with just the nervous system and the mobility requirements and the technique that's required. I think has a great carryover to the game of golf.
Agreed. All right, man. We just got a couple final questions to ask you. I know these are coming. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to
it. Fire away here. Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Love both movies, but I'm a traditional guy, so I'm going to go Caddyshack.
All right. If you could pick a walk-up song to the first tee box, what's your walk-up song?
I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about kind of timing at the beginning of the song, and also something that's going to get me fired up. So I'm going to go with "Walk" by Pantera.
Oh man!
Yes,
you're going hard. I like it.
Oh yeah.
All right. If you could pick someone to play 18 holes of golf with, anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be, and where would you guys play?
I think without a doubt, I would have to pick my dad. And I would want to play Augusta National. I could think of no other course in the world that would be more fun to play, more enjoyable to play, and I think it just would be an incredible experience to play around a golf there with him.
It's fantastic. With everything, we're just starting 2018. The year has just begun. What has you most excited as you move forward with Golf and Body, or anything that you're doing with the guys at Par 4 Performance, or anything that you have going on these days?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'll be honest with you. I'm really excited. Here at Golf and Body, like I said, we've sort of reached, kind of our membership goal. We've got a lot of new programs that we're hoping to introduce here, with some Pilates and yoga stuff, a new nutrition program. We're looking at some, potentially some meal delivery and different services, just trying to upgrade the things that we're providing for our members here. We've got a lot of great instructors and, resources that come through here that just help educate us and help us provide better stuff for our members. I think the goal is for Golf and Body to expand here within the city and across the country. So hopefully within another couple of years, we'll have, more locations here in the city, more locations around the country. And then I think personally, I've had some opportunities obviously to do things like today, to come on the 18 Strong podcast, to do some writing, to do some presentations. And so personally, just continue to try to, get myself out there, continue to face the fears that I had to do things like that and try to overcome them. And the more I continue to do that, it seems like the more opportunities that keep coming my way. So I'm just hoping to continue to push forward with that stuff.
I love it. And you're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, the content you're putting out, the writing, the articles and stuff. So continue to do it, because we're going to continue to follow. Any last pieces of advice for the 18 Strong audience?
No, I think, this is a time of the year where, a lot of people are thinking about, like you said, resolutions and goals. And, we're starting to think of the year to come, the new golf season to come. I mean, it sort of kicked off in Hawaii, and it won't be long, hopefully, until we're teeing it up at Augusta. So I think for the people listening, I would just encourage them to, don't be afraid to get some coaching and instruction, whether it be in golf or fitness or any area of your life. I think the best people in the world have their own coaches and mentors. I know I have mine. And it's, you don't have to go it alone, and having that coach or mentor has been invaluable for me. I think try to get a community of people to surround you. If you have goals, find somebody to help you, keep you accountable, whether it's a spouse or a friend or somebody in your foursome or somebody to work out with. You're going to be way more likely to accomplish those goals if you have a community and a support system around you. I tell people all the time that doesn't mean you're weak, doesn't mean you can't do it by yourself. We need that support, and there's nothing wrong with looking for that. I do it myself, and I've been, my last 2 years have been way more productive since I've done that than any time before. And then kind of like I said, I would just encourage people to face their fears and take action on the things that they want to do, even if they don't feel like they're quite ready. I was nervous coming on here today, and but still made that call. And so again, I think it will continue to lead for good things if you continue to face that fear and take action.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate your time here today, and I'm sure we're going to be talking very much in the near future here, my friend.
I hope so.
All right. Take care.
You too, Jeff.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week on the 18 Strong podcast. If you want any more information on Kirk Adams or Golf and Body NYC, just go to 18strong.com and check out the show notes. You can find it at 18strong.com/Kirk Adams, or just look up episode number 174. You'll find all of his social media handles. You'll find Golf and Body NYC and their different links, as well as links to content that Kirk has provided for Par 4 Performance, where they've got great content. Frank Duffy, Joe Gambino, also putting out a lot of great information, exercises, drills, and just top quality information for you to improve your fitness level and improve your body to play better golf. All right, don't forget to check out Super Speed Golf. Go there to get your overspeed system that is definitely going to gain several miles an hour on your golf swing, and check out the content over at Scratch, either at scratchtv.com or on their Facebook page, SKRATCH. And if you aren't in our private Facebook group, the 18 Strong Movement, by all means, check us out over there while you're on Facebook looking up Scratch. All right, guys, we will catch up with you next week. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.